Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, which looks at how to best boost impact in Digital Europe projects through effective and evidence-based dissemination and exploitation strategies. My name is Nick Ferguson, and I'm the coordinator of a new project called DEDEP.eu. And I'm a senior manager at an SME called Trust IT Services, which is based in Pisa in Italy. And every day we work with projects to help improve the way that they deliver dissemination strategies. And we'll be joined by our other partner in the project, Meta Group, who work every day to help projects improve their exploitation strategies. So I'll be providing a little more information about our project, DEDEP, which is organized and running this webinar in a moment. But our main objective is to really learn from the Digital Europe projects on how they are approaching and delivering dissemination and exploitation strategies, what expectations and guidance the European Commission and implementing bodies for the new program can provide, and to pilot a framework for a set of support services to help projects in this area in the future. So today's webinar was a first step for us to take stock of best practices in dissemination and to understand through a series of panels what is going on, what are projects currently doing in this area in the digital program, which is much more about deployment and implementation and reaching end users with market-ready services and products. So we'll also be hearing from the implementing bodies and the European Commission to understand their guidance and their recommendations, and also what they expect as well from the funded initiatives and projects. So we have a very busy agenda, and we also want to hear from you. So we have over 160 registrants today to the webinar, which is fantastic. We've had a great response. I think this reflects also the interest in this topic and the importance of this topic in the digital program. As you can see, we've got a good spread across the different funding strands, and we have a little word cloud here where you can see the names of the 90 projects which have registered for today's webinar. So this is fantastic. We also have 23 representatives from the European Commission and the implementing bodies, which is very important because, of course, our project looks at both sides of the coin, both the projects which are funded and the people who are funding them. And also very pleased to say that we have 60% of participants are female, so this is also very important when we consider that aspect of things. And an excellent spread across Europe as well, with most member states represented. So, without further ado, I just wanted to add, sorry, that we've already asked questions from people in the registration, and we'll be reflecting on some of those statistics from the projects and what they're doing. And we'll also be running a few polls, a few questions during the webinar to understand, how projects are approaching these two key elements of project implementation, dissemination, and strategy. So be ready to answer polls and get involved. You can ask questions in the Q&A box, please, and our panelists and speakers will try to answer them as we go. And please use the chat as well. Introduce yourselves, tell us about your projects, tell us about your challenges, and we want to gather as much information as this from you all. So with no further ado, I'd like to hand over to our first speaker, Elizabeth Lipiatu, who is Head of Unit for DG of Communications, Networks, Content and Technology, and Program Implementation for the digital program. So Elizabeth, over to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. I trust you could hear me well. Okay,
yes, perfect. We can hear you fine, yes.
Okay, great. So good morning to everyone, and a very warm welcome to this webinar focusing on Digital Europe program. My name, as you hear, is Elizabeth Lipiatou, and I'm really pretty happy to participate in this webinar organized by the DEDEP project. This project, it is the first we have on dissemination and exploitation on Digital Europe. It is funded by the program, and it is from us a support action, which we really believe will help to unlock the full potential of the program. So this morning, I would like to pass a few messages to you. I will focus on what the program is about, and by saying that, what it is and what it is not about, and why, from our side, dissemination exploitation is so important for Digital Europe program. So Digital Europe is, as you all know, a relatively new program. It is a flagship initiative of the European Union. It is launched in 2021. And it is a program to promote the digital transformation in Europe, one of the very big objectives of European Union. So the program has as objective to increase Europe's competitiveness and help businesses to compete globally, and also to make sure to ensure the take-up of digital technologies across all regions of the European Union. So the program aims to support specifically small-medium enterprises and to get access to the latest technologies and skills. And there are several activities which are supported directly or indirectly by the program. So there are, as you all could see, we have the program has 6 specific objectives. I would like to say that, in essence, the program is focusing on building and using essential digital capacities such as high-performance computing, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, advanced digital skills, and semiconductors. So the aim, as I said before, and now more precisely, it is to accelerate the best use of digital technologies, both for the public and the private sectors. And that to be done either by high-impact deployments or by, for instance, our network of digital innovation hubs. One objective is to ensure, an important objective, Europe's technological sovereignty and safeguarding Europe's security interest in key technologies. We all agree, pretty important today. So, and that to do this, when necessary, the program restricts participation, has limitations, asks for limitation on transfers and licensing, and also on limitation on access to infrastructures. Of course, not for all of the parts of the program, but when that is needed. So now we come to dissemination and exploitation activities. Digital Europe finances a lot of projects, and in all of them, there is one of the key objectives plus deliverables is to have a dissemination and exploitation plan for every project financed by Digital Europe. So dissemination and exploitation, I believe we all agree that is important for any project financed by any program. But specifically for a new one, and a program focusing on digital competitiveness of the European Union, its member states, and its businesses is particularly important. So a dissemination exploitation plan also will increase digital visibility, foster digital cooperation, and improve digital policy outcomes. So by sharing results and engaging with stakeholders, projects financed by Digital Europe can build effective partnership, create a community, drive innovation, and promote EU digital policy initiatives. So, beside the dissemination exploitation plan that exists as a deliverable, as I said, to every project financed by Digital Europe, we have now a project dedicated to it, and this is the DEDEP, which will support coordination of these activities, and also by its existence at this moment underlines the importance we give to dissemination and exploitation. So we would like also to, for all projects financed under Digital Europe, to understand that the DEP is there to help them, and also for the project to understand that there are several other activities to which it will be important to connect to. So this project on dissemination and exploitation of Digital Europe is the first of the kind. Certainly, we believe will not be the last of the kind. So it is something we do believe is important, and it will continue to be even more important as project results are coming out. So I know that in the agenda it is foreseen to hear much more about the project from Nicholas and others, and also the agenda provides space for learning for from other projects which they use successful dissemination exploitation strategies. Also, approximately at the same time with the financing of DEDEP, we finance another project which we believe it is important as well, and actually very important in a different way, but it is important to mention here, and it is a support action for the national contact points of Digital Europe program. Also, we believe that the two projects, they could have important links. There is also, and we have also an established network of European digital innovation hubs, and you will hear more about it later in the program of this webinar. So we look to all of that together. So we believe this project, national contact points, European digital innovation hubs, networks, other projects, all will create a kind of an environment which will promote dissemination and exploitation for Digital Europe, increasing the effectiveness of the program. We also know that sometimes there is some small confusion between Digital Europe program, who is a new program, and Horizon Europe program, who is, I think, almost 40 years program. There is maybe it's part of the name, maybe because these two programs are complementary, but we thought it is important to say a few words about it. Horizon Europe is the European Union's key program for research and innovation. So it focuses on research in any area and promotes depending innovation in different sectors. The Digital Europe program does not finance research. The program focuses on building and using essential digital capacities and to accelerate the best use of digital technologies, public or private, through the public and private sector. So you will hear more about it, but the two programs are complementary, are not the same. So and therefore, as you can expect, the dissemination and exploitation tools and strategies between these two programs or other programs are different depending the objective of the program. So we believe this webinar and webinars like this will even more help to understand even better Digital Europe program. And it will aim, as I said before, to collect good and innovative practices and provide guidance and tools for successful dissemination exploitation strategies. And create, above all, an environment where project officers, policymakers could be connected and could build upon. So I would like, from my side, to emphasize from the side of the Commission the importance of Digital Euro program and the importance of dissemination and exploitation for this program, and in this context, the importance of the DEDEP project especially, but all other projects through their plans contribute to dissemination and exploitation of the program, of the results of the program. So I think by working all together, we can create a digital Europe that is competitive, inclusive, and sustainable. I want also to say that to highlight the importance that we give to the dissemination, to this topic, dissemination and exploitation of Digital Europe, the DEDEP project is among those selected projects which managed directly by the European Commission. This is why the project officer is in DG Connect, and someone you know well, okay? I'm sure all you know Rudy, and I'm sure he will contribute during this webinar. And it is someone who is pretty attentive. I think you are very lucky to have such a good project officer. And with this, I think I will close. I will stay in the webinar. I am ready to hear any question you may have now or later. I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and I'm really wishing us a very successful webinar today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. That was very nice. And thank you for highlighting our project and also the project which focuses on the national contact points. And we've already been in touch with them, and you know, we agree that there's so much complementary activities that we can do in terms of sharing our results with them. And of course, they can provide an important platform to the national contact points as well. So results and inclusivity and sustainability are key messages for the Digital Europe programme and the project. So let's take a look at our project DEDEP. I'll give you a brief introduction as to our objectives and how we can help, because this is really what we're asking. How can we help both from a beneficiary and project side and also from a European Commission and implementing bodies side to ensure that, you know, dissemination exploitation is taken seriously from day one in projects, where implementation, early engagement with users and uptake is vital for these market-ready aspects. And one thing Elizabeth highlighted was that, you know, there's very different from the Horizon Europe program, and you know, attending some of the information days around the Digital Europe program. You know, this is still a question which comes up. You know, this is about market deployment. So the dissemination and exploitation strategies need to probably be quite a bit different. So our job is to basically understand what projects are doing, how are they approaching dissemination and exploitation, these two important aspects of this, and go back, and to understand what lessons can be learned from projects which are currently funded and that can be taken up by other projects. So our project is a coordination and support action. It runs for 24 months, and our mission is to understand the landscape. Based on this evidence, design a dissemination exploitation framework and run a set of pilots to support projects funded under the Digital Europe programme. So these are our different steps, as you can see. And of course, today's webinar is a very, very important first step in collecting best practices. And our objective is to collect around 40 of these to understand, what are projects doing? How are they making, because a lot of the beneficiaries who are taking part in Digital Europe projects have experience in Horizon Europe projects, and how are they making this transition? What challenges are they facing? What lessons have they learned? And what's worked well? This is what we really want to hear. And then, as I said, we'll be piloting the framework and the services which we think would be useful for projects in a series of pilots, which will run next year. So we're keen on engaging with projects who are interested in joining these pilots, which will be spread across the different strands, different topics, and we'll also be looking at different stages of project life cycles as well. So these are our long-term goals, basically. Now, as I said, I've talked about the projects, but of course, there's two sides to every coin. And our project also looks at understanding what expectations and what guidance the different European Commission, the policy officers, and the different implementing bodies request or expect. What are they expecting? What do they expect to see? What recommendations and what tools are they recommending projects use? How Elizabeth mentioned that all projects have to have a dissemination and exploitation strategy in place, often in the first 6 months. So what type of information is expected there, and what type of information could they request in the future? So the types of questions that we are asking, I mean, I've just put some general questions here, where, as I said, understanding what strategies are being implemented, what's worked, what hasn't worked. Best practices are always complemented by worst practices as well. What hasn't worked, what doesn't work. What's the experience with the end users? How do you get to these end users? Many of them are small and medium enterprises, for example, which are also often a difficult audience to get to. And how are they capturing these results so that they could be understood to a broader audience? And then, of course, how do you monitor all of this? What KPIs do you use? And how could the Commission help researchers in dealing with digital solutions to better connect early adopters, for example, to validate their solutions? So if you go to the next slide, please, because we asked some of these questions quite high level in the registration. And as I said, around 90 projects have joined us today, which is really, really fantastic. And you can already see that we have this, commitment to engage with early adopters, to influence results, and some of the channels which are used, which is predominantly events, public events, for example, also training, and also use of social media, which can be good to capture people, to get them registered, and to send them newsletters as well, so they're updated and are part of the community. This is one of the things that Elizabeth mentioned, creating communities, because this is very important in terms of creating a need and understanding market needs for your potential end users. So this is information which we want to use in our reports and our analysis as we as our project goes on and we form the first version of our framework and eventually the pilot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of the time, and I'd kindly ask you all to either go to this link, which you'll also find in the chat, or use your phone and use the QR code, because we're interested in question number 1. Which of the following dissemination and exploitation strategy has your project focused on the most? So in particular, this is a question for the people representing projects. So if we can go to the launch that poll now, then maybe we can see if anybody is responding to that. So so we'll just get that up on screen. So yeah, we're looking at different aspects here. So training, of course, is key in terms of helping people to understand what they are using, the end users, and training sessions and workshops are also key for this. Partnerships are always important because, of course, the partnerships with industry can act as having a multiplier effect, and of course, IPR and activities to protect intellectual properties are also very important. But of course, your project may not have yet focused on dissemination and exploitation as well. So that's also an option, depending on your project and its maturity. But of course, what would be ideal is if dissemination and exploitation is thought of in day 1 of the project, because of course this really helps in terms of ensuring your work is aligned and runs parallel with the other activities in the project. So great. So okay, so you can already see that social media and public communication is the most common strategy which is used, and that reflects also the questionnaire we had in the previous slide where we talked about the use of social media and also training as well. This is also high on people's agenda. Also possibly reflects the advanced digital skills focus of the Digital Europe programme as well. So great. Thank you very much for responding to this. You can keep this open. So if you haven't been able to respond now, then you can respond later. So great. Okay. So thank you for that first poll. So what I'd like to do now is invite the panelists to our next session, where we have gathered a first group of projects which are already disseminating and employing exploitation strategies as we speak. So I'd like to invite Franka Koens from the European Space Agency. She's an Earth science model engineer for the Destination Earth project, to turn on her camera. Johan Costella, who's a process manager at Maladen University and representative of Shift Labs, which is a digital innovation hub. Also, Thorsten Kliauer from ACEEU and Cybersec Pro project, which looks at promoting advanced digital skills in cybersecurity, and Gohar Isakanyan from Wageningen University, who is part of the agri-food test, so the testing and experimentation facility. So if you could all turn on your cameras, please, and your microphones. Then we can start this first panel. Okay, thank you. Great, that's great. I can see you now. Sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to each person because, of course, your projects are funded under very different parts of the Digital Europe program. You come from different realities, different contexts. You're targeting different types of users, different types of people. So if I can turn to Franca, please. Franca from ESA and the Destiny project. So could you give us a little bit of background onto about the Destiny project, of course, who the users are, and what you're providing them, and what is the impact of them? Okay.
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me, Nicolas. It's really nice that we are part of the Digital Euro program, of course, and part of this webinar, which is really nice. So as you said, I'm working at ESA. I'm part of a team of about 12 people working on Destiny. And Destination Earth really started 2.5 years ago. And it's really a big initiative funded under the Digital Euro program. And the goal is really to develop a digital twin of our Earth. To monitor effects of natural and human activity of our planet, and also to adapt to changes we're going to face in the future. We all know that we're facing climate change. We have to really want to know how the future will look, and with Destination Earth, we try to tackle that. So the end goal really is to have this full digital twin of the Earth, where we can really do what-if scenarios in the end. We can so one question would be what the climate will look like in 50 years and how probably the end use has to change. So we really want to do this what-if scenarios, and Destination Earth really is not only for scientists, but it should be also really for all of us, and also for authorities and policymakers in the end. So what we really want to see is that public authorities using this digital twin to change their decision making and to really have informed decision about our Earth. So this Destination Earth is not easy, of course, because the digital twin of the Earth sounds impressive and is going to be impressive, hopefully. So together with EUMETSAT and ECMWF is the European Organization Center for Medium Range Weather Forecast, and EUMETSAT is the European Organization for Exploitation of Meteorological Weather Satellites. Together with them, we're creating this Destiny system, which contains of the Destiny platform, of course, where you can access the data, where you can have different services to explore. Together with them, we are doing the system, and EUMETSAT is responsible for gathering all the data, because we not only need satellite data and in situ data, we need all the data available to put together a digital twin in the end, and also the Destiny data. Destiny data so far is data from 2 digital twins in the beginning, which is the extreme induced weather digital twin and the climate adaptation digital twin, which is done by ECMWF. And here we have an example what we really would like to do. So we want to have better resolution spatially and also timely for weather and also climate digital twin. And with this, starting from there, we want to do several other digital twins in the future and use the data to really have a better informed decision making. And one quick information about us. ESA is doing the Destiny platform. It will be a platform to access data, services, and all. It's online. You can register. You can go there. You can explore data. You can see what's available already. For example, here you can see the precipitation done by the Climate TT in 2025. Which is probably going to look like. And yeah, you just go there, explore there, and really engage with the system. And with that, I'm going to finish and hand over back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Franca. That was really interesting. And yeah, clearly you have to reach a lot of different stakeholders, different types of stakeholders. But of course, evidence-based decision-making is key here. So we'll come back to you later to understand a bit more about this community that you've reached. So I'd like now to turn to Sweden and Johan Costella from Shift Labs, which is one of the digital innovation hubs in Sweden. So Johan, can you tell us a bit about your end users, the challenges that you face, and how Shift Labs is working to reach them and so forth, please?
Of course, I will show a couple of slides here. Okay, let's see if I can do like this. You can see this? Yeah. Perfect.
Yes, you can say, yeah.
Yeah, great. So Chef Labs is a Swedish European digital innovation house. So we are focusing on helping the manufacturing industry to accelerate their digital transformation. So we're a consortium with 8 partners, 4 universities and 4 tech centers and innovation organizations. So that is our goal. So just to start out with saying we love SMEs. I think they're an interesting group to work with, and I will explain how we're thinking about how the ecosystem looks like and how our strategies for outreach and exploitation and dissemination. So I think it's very important when you're working with SMEs to understand they're a very heterogeneous group. Some are very advanced, some are not advanced. So you have to understand that, and they're very limited in their time. They're very busy, and they often have quite difficult to see their own needs, and usually have a lack of resources as well, and have problem of understanding and seeing the new trends that are happening in technology, for example. So that is the basis for our work to really understand our clients and our partners. Then something that is important for us is also the European values that we're working on: democracy, diversity, and have a local and regional impact as well. So that is the starting point for us. So when we started the project, the 8 partners, you can call it what we would like mini regional hubs. We have our regional footprint and a regional ecosystem. So each partner have a lot of other actors in the ecosystem that we're working with, and also have existing partnerships with SMEs, for example. So that is something that we started the project with. But that was just on isolated islands in Sweden. So our goal for Chef Labs was to create a national and also, of course, an European hub, of course. So that is the main goal, to use the strength in the local and regional ecosystems and scale that up to a national and European level. So one of the most important things when working with SMEs is actually to understand them, and also creating relationships and partnerships with them. I think that is for most SMEs. I think that is it's face-to-face relationship that you create with them. So you have to. So that is one thing that is really important to understand. So they don't react well to very consultants-based outreach. They need to know you to be able to create these partnerships. So that is something that we're very focusing on as well. So the channels that we're using our existing networks, these business networks, the relationships that we already have. And we reach out through home pages that the clients recognize and are familiar with. But of course, we want to scale it up, and then we use social media as a tool for that. So, and another thing that is really important, as to say, referrals from other actors. We're not alone with. So we're working on the regional actors, but now we're also in these partnerships that we're creating with other hubs and other national actors. We can work with on a more European level, creating this referral, creating this one-stop shop that we're aiming at. So the results and impacts have been quite successful. I think we have already created 170 services for SMEs during this 1.5 year we've been working, and we've been working with 250 unique manufacturing companies as well. So for the future, this is where we are right now. I think it's really important to have this base in the regional ecosystem, but you have to also scale it up. So we think about hyper scalable services. Of course, they have to be digital based, but we also have to design. When we design this system, we have to design it for keeping like a relation-based approach. And that we have to do with our partners in Europe. And so that is my main point is you have to be rooted, have your foot on the ground, but reach for the sky. Yeah. So.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Johan. It's really interesting and how you built these relationships with the SMEs. So have your feet on the ground and reach for the sky. It's very, very good. So let's hand over to Thorsten now, because I think SMEs are also one of the target groups for the CyberSec Pro project as well. And of course, Thorsten, you have experience in your role in innovation for the Accreditation Council for Entrepreneurial Engaged Universities, which was the acronym I mentioned before. So Thorsten, over to you, and let's hear about the CyberSec Pro.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I hope you can see the screen already. Yes, as you just said, I work for the Accreditation Council for Entrepreneurial Engaged Universities, and we're working in this project on cybersecurity. If you like, you could call us the weirdos in the project, the ones who don't really fit in, because we are working on how can we actually align much more what universities and academia is doing, what is relevant for industry and for society. So we don't have specific competence actually in cybersecurity. We are working across very different fields from food, cybersecurity, and so on and so on. And the important part that we bring in is this industry alignment, which is this, that we have something, how do we disseminate it, that we have something worthwhile to disseminate, and how can we and how should we exploit it? Which is a very interesting role that we take in very different projects. CyberSec Pro specifically is all about empowering universities to offer more hands-on and working life skills for driving this digital transformation that we are all feeling embedded in at the moment. So we're equipping the workforce we aim to empower the universities to equip the workforce with what they really need to drive this transformation. And this needs to happen at a much faster pace than universities are normally used to do that, and needs to be in learning activities that are often much smaller than what universities are offering at the moment, because we cannot just think in that someone who is working in industry already is interested in directly taking like a 4-semester master course. So what we are really developing here is learning activities, small-scale programs that universities can use to work with SMEs, as you just mentioned, Nick, but also bigger organizations to up and reskill their workforce. That doesn't mean that this is not being used for students, which are currently going through their academic so the education, but the focus is really on empowering people to have smaller scale learning engagements. So if I go to this next slide, so what are we really doing? So we did skills gap analysis. We developed lots of training materials. We are then implementing the trainings and testing them. We are evaluating it. We are developing a cybersecurity certification scheme, and we are doing lots of different events. Important for us is that we have different stakeholders that we all need to address. One is, of course, the learners that we have, but very important is the trainers, which should take up our learning materials and bring that into not only the partner universities. So we have 11 partner universities. We have in total more than 25 projects. So it's a massive project, very difficult to coordinate with so many partners from different countries. But bringing this expertise together is essential. And we want to bring all these training materials not only to our universities in the consortium, but broadly used and accessible for everyone. And the beneficiaries beneficiaries are then, in the end, the businesses and the people working in these businesses and other forms of organizations, non-profit organizations, governmental organizations, and so on. And in the end, the project also aims to advance in terms of policy. So what can we give as recommendations in terms of the future of cybersecurity competence development? What needs to be taken up by standardization agencies? What national policies might be adapted, and so on. And last but not least, maybe important to mention is we focus on specific sectors, health, energy, and maritime, which again enables us to not be too broad, but very specific. And this is very important for practice, that we don't try to cover everything, but that we know where our place is and where we want to make our impact.
Wonderful. Thank you, Thorsten. Very clear. No, very, very interesting how you're doing that. So we'll hear a little bit later about something really practical that you've employed in the CyberSec Pro project as well, in terms of monitoring and assessing your strategies. So let's now turn to Gohar and the agri-food TEF project. So Gohar, over to you. You've got yes, around 2 to 3 minutes, yeah, and then we'll have the second round of questions. So yeah. Gohar, over to you.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for inviting me to this meeting. Is it okay if I share my screen for a second?
Of course, yeah.
Please go ahead. I will not take much time, but sometimes it helps to understand. So I am Gohar Isahanyan, living and working in Wageningen University, a senior scientist, looking at the social and economic impact of digitalization, AI, and robotics. So today I'm here for Agri-Food TEF project, and I will shortly explain what Agri-Food TEF is doing. Yeah, okay. So the project is a co-funded project by Digital Connect. The idea, the philosophy behind is that we are going to test and experiment, to provide testing and experimentation facilities to assess and validate AI robotic solution. So basically, we assume that robotics and AI developers have difficulty to reach the market, and even if they when they reach the market, their solutions are not really socially, economically, or ethically proven. So we provide them opportunity to test the AI robotic solution before it reaches the market. And we test and validate different aspects of it, including digital, like does the technology do, or does the technology do what it promises to do? Does it have ethical issues, legal issues, or what is the business model of it, and eventually building an ecosystem for entire Europe. So that's a 5-year project when we have a clear sustainability plan to continue afterwards, and we are thinking what could be the governance model of such an organization when the project finishes, because it's partially funded by European Commission, sorry, and then partially by the member states. And yeah, our target group are of the services. So we provide services, and these services can be a test farm where you can go and test your, for instance, smart reading machine. We also provide, for instance, livestock where this specific tested can be, but we also provide data sets. We provide expertise in algorithm, but all are in agri-food domain. So basically it is helping the developers to reach from TRL 6, so in lab validated, to TRL 8 in field validation. Yeah, we have 9 countries in our team and 1 associated partner, but we are expanding it. Probably we will expand it later on as well to a bit more Eastern countries, Eastern European. As I said, we have a physical testing infrastructure, we have digital testing infrastructure, and we have conformity testing infrastructure, and all these are interconnected. So depending on what the customer wants, most of them are AI and robotics developers, We are looking at their needs, and then we provide the service. And the services can be found in a catalog. It's a new catalog. I am not going to show all the details, but we have about 270 services in the catalog already listed, and quite some already delivered. And we have top sellers, for instance. These are testing in raw reading solutions, testing of spot spraying, provision of data sets. The question is that who are the focus group, right? We want to reach. Those are the organizations, SMEs that are developing robotics and AI solutions, but they also have their clients. So they don't develop for themselves these solutions. They develop for their clients, in that these clients, for our clients, are people that are working in agri-food, like starting from farmers, livestock or open field or greenhouse, until logistics, until the customers. So our focus group are this, but eventually it's not only developers that we are targeting, but also the ones who will use the end solution of the developers. I think that is what I wanted to really show for now.
That's great, Goha. Thank you very much. So what we'll do now is we'll take a couple of questions now, because of course time is running. But that was really interesting, because I think already we've got the idea around how agri-food tech is disseminating the services through this really rich catalog, and the importance of the exploitation in terms of the sustainability, and also from Johan, this unique group of the SME who you have to target, and some really nice best practices and recommendations on how to reach them. I'd like though to turn to Franca and ask her about so one of the challenges that you faced was creating a community. So if you could just take us through in a minute or so, or 2 minutes, how you address this challenge of creating and building a community.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicola, for the question. That's actually, I mean, that's the biggest challenge in Destiny. Of course, it sounds great to create this digital twin of the Earth, but you have to start somewhere. But then it can also address everyone, right? Where to start? Who should we start with? And we really decided in the beginning that because the topic is really related to climate and weather modeling, we start with the scientists to really address them in the beginning, but always had in mind that Destiny is not really also for scientists in the end, but should be really for everyone, and also for policymakers, that it's easy to understand. So of course, what we did is we built this website on Destination Earth, which is growing every day, and we have interesting things on the website. You can go there. And we have a lot of things to explore there. We have a catalog on use cases we're doing. We write blogs, what we are doing. We have also interesting events always. And one of the most interesting events we are already doing almost the 4th time is the Destination Earth User Exchange. So from early on, we decided we want to engage with the community. We have to reach out to the community. So we decided to do this big event where all the community can meet. In the beginning, of course, because Destiny is so big, we invited all our contractors, because ECMWF, ESA, and UMITSAT, we are not doing it alone, of course. We cannot do it alone. For example, ESA has contracts with several industry partners, big companies, also small and medium companies together, to invite them to go there and just to talk about Destiny and to engage with all the others. So it's still a big challenge, but we're growing. So we're starting from nothing. Right now we have in the community itself around 3,000 people. We have around 15,000 visitors on our website each month. We want to grow further because we have to engage with even more people, and we are still planning a lot of outreach activities, and also we have support from Just IT at your company. Also, we are contributing to building this community. We are planning a lot. We're also planning on doing a community of practice where we have webinars and meeting on specific topics, for example, agriculture, education, because Destiny is all about digital twins, not just climate and weather, but we really, have to do more and reach out.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. That's really good, and really good experience as well. And you know, having your users in one place is great. So, with so many people and so many events, I'd like to turn to you, Thorsten, to understand how can you keep on top of these and manage and understand their effectiveness. I think you may have something to tell us.
Yes, we try actually to manage all this through an internal system. So what I actually have some slides here. I don't want to take more time, but maybe sometimes it helps to how we actually try to monitor this. So what we're trying to do is, if you can see my slides now, we built an internal management system just for the project, because as I said, we have lots of different partners, we have lots of different stakeholders, we want to impact a lot of different people. So what we said is, rather than we're doing that in a small scale, we want to really empower people in the consortium to have a more a bigger share, to make a bigger contribution to dissemination and exploitation. So we built a system. It's not meant to be that you can read what is on the screenshots, but it shows you that we built something that is not as nice as our public website. It's only for internal purposes, and we record there everything that we are doing. So we are recording the news, the dissemination activities, the publications, the media appearances, the newsletters, external engagements, also our training implementations, and so on, to keep track of all this. And why are we actually doing this? Because we want to motivate and empower, because often what we recognize is all this work is often on just 1, 2, or 3 partners, but everyone does some activities, often even not realizing that they are doing activities, and then we don't share this. And if we don't share this, then we don't motivate the other consortium stakeholders. So, and that creates a very nice thing that, again, it helps if you see what others are doing, that you do more, let's say. It helps us also to have a quicker publication process, because if people can do that in their own admin system, we can publish it much quicker, which is better for our target groups. And we can link it to our core KPIs. So we have it from the proposal, all the core KPIs, and we have a live overview of where do we actually stand at the moment. And in the end, it also increases efficiency, rather than putting everything into Excel spreadsheets in whatever kind of system that we need to transfer it somewhere that it can be monitored. And we have hundreds of different Excel spreadsheets, everyone does something else, is not really contributing much. But it also comes with its challenges. I outline here just 2. One is a changing behavior, because we love Excel, we know Excel, right? So we like to put all our stuff into Excel spreadsheets. So changing the behavior of consortium members to it and using your system is not easy. And it requires continuous development, because we couldn't have in month 3 all the system built up. We learn also a lot about what we can digitalize, what we can optimize, what we can delegate. But in the end, and this is what is written in blue, it's a lot of work, especially in the beginning, but it pays off in the end, because we have more people contributing, more people being impacted, and we can just do it in a digital way, much quicker, much more efficient than we could do that in the, let's say, old school way.
Wonderful, Thorsten. Thank you very much. That's really interesting, very important, because of course KPIs and monitoring is key in these projects. I'd like just to ask Johan, in 1 minute, you mentioned all of these different channels and ways to reach SMEs. Which one do you think is the most effective? Which one has given you the most positive and numbers coming in?
I think actually the LinkedIn is the most important thing. I think but LinkedIn is relational based. I think that is really important. The reason why you're linked in LinkedIn is because you had a prior relationship. So it's sort of like that's a hyper scalable like a networking tool. So I think LinkedIn is really good. And but I have to mention another one is like working in your like local regional environment is also, I think I have to mention both of them because they're equally important. Yeah.
Thanks, Johan. That was great. It's a great image you had before in your slide. And if I can finally turn to you, Gohar. So you mentioned the service catalogue, and how important is that in terms of disseminating to users the services you have, and how do you see this evolving in the future? You've got 1 minute.
It's yeah, I think you should see the service catalog as kind of a web shop for the services, right? The more digital the world becomes, people want to find their services online. But honestly, for the start, as a startup for agri-food dev, it's more social network that is more important. People know each other, they already worked with the clients, so it's the informal network expanding more. But the catalog is something that will reach to that will help us reach also the countries that are outside of agri-food dev reach, right? And maybe we will at a certain moment reach to international markets. That would be fantastic. So yeah, but what I see the challenge in dissemination, and I'm not sure if the other projects are also experiencing that, maybe we can discuss about it, is that we are introducing the service described by engineers, very, very jargony, very unclear, and sometimes also the English is not very clear. So they have a very fantastic service to provide. Maybe local people would understand in local language, but for other languages, it's not. So we have two levels of this miscommunication in terms of, one, how to translate the service from technical language to more business sales language. And the second one is how to make sure that, for instance, that we have a common English language.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that is also the case in other projects. I would be interested. How do you deal with it?
Luckily enough, Alex is about to share the next poll. Okay, so I'd like everybody listening to go to the link really quickly. Okay, and we have a question. The first question is about challenges in ensuring effective dissemination for your project results. And one of the choices is difficulty in translating technical outcomes into market-ready solutions. Yeah. Okay, so making your result or your service or your product understandable for the user, which is very difficult, especially when it's technical. Also, another choice is lack of resources, insufficient knowledge as well. Maybe there's insufficient knowledge within your consortium on market-related dissemination strategies, or maybe the partners are too technical and maybe not industrial enough, or not have enough knowledge of the market. So there's a few options there, which I'd like you just very quickly to vote on. And then we've got another question to lead into the next panel, which is about exploitation. But let's stay with this one. And limited engagement with end users and stakeholders seems to be the biggest one. But, the recommendations from our panelists, we had LinkedIn, social media, in particular LinkedIn. We find this very effective as well in finding the right profiles and actively going and finding people as well and contacting them. So great. So you can continue voting there. That'll stay open. And if we quickly go to the second question, we ask the same question of challenges around effective exploitation. And what we'll do in a moment is hand over to Lorenzo and the next panel, where we'll be talking about from the commission side of things. But this question is important to Lorenzo and Meta Group, because of course I said Meta Group are focusing on exploitation in the DEDEP project. And so the options here vary in terms of a lack of readiness, market readiness, especially for digital technologies. Are the SMEs, for example, ready to use these technologies? Do they trust them? Of course, they're putting their livelihoods and businesses to use these technologies, which has benefits, and maybe questions around trust. Resources for commercialization, IP and ownership issues. So please take your vote. And now, okay, so the biggest one here is, again, engaging with stakeholders and end users. Whereas market readiness on demand is not really so much of a problem. Okay, so thank you very much. I'd like to thank our panelists. They're really interesting presentations from everybody, and really interesting insights and challenges and how you've addressed them. And of course, we want to, as I said, we want to continue the conversation and dialogue with you so that we can capture these. And our aim is to capture up to 40 best practices, which we'll promote through our website. So we want to hear from the other 90 projects as well who are participating today. Right, so with that, I'd like to hand over to Lorenzo and the members of the second panel. Lorenzo.
Thanks. Here I am, Nicholas. Thanks. Thanks and good morning, everybody. So nice to be here, and it was very, I would say, I was very happy to listen to all these kind of inputs that were shared by the Digital Europe program beneficiaries. And now with the next panel, basically that we will focus on is around listening from the other side of the table, which are the implementing bodies from the European Commission that are managing, I would say, a lot of different beneficiaries for the Digital Europe program. So for this panel, we have Malgorzata Nikoska, which is the head of unit for artificial intelligence, innovation and policy, DG Connect. We have Josephine Wood, head of unit strategy and governance of Euro HPC joint undertaking. And then we have Livs Gikas, which is head of programs at CHIPS joint undertaking. So I would welcome all of them. I would like to start basically as we have, I would say, a totally different kind of areas focus from the artificial intelligence passing through the chips then, and I would like to start asking for each of the panelists to briefly present themselves and presenting the kind of, projects they are supporting. So just to give a frame that would be easier then to understand in the next round of questions, the kind of different insights that we provide. So I would like to start with Malgorzata. So please, Malgorzata, if you would like to take the floor. And I will ask briefly, as we have 2 rounds of questions and we have just 30 minutes more or less, if we can have each time slot about 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay, so thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm Gosia Nikowska. I work in the AI office. And our job is to support basically the innovation of our companies in terms of developing AI solutions, but also general uptake of AI technologies. And to do that, we have 2 very powerful tools. One is the network of European digital innovation hubs. So you have heard from Johan in the previous panel, but there are more Johans across the EU. We have over 200 hubs in all EU member states and a number of associated countries. And all of them are supporting companies on the ground in the local language and knowing the local circumstances and ecosystems with becoming more digital. Currently, our main priority is to increase the uptake of AI, but it doesn't mean that other technologies are less important. It is important that the whole digitalization goes upwards. And the second network that we are also managing is the network of testing and experimentation facilities. So again, you met already with Agri-Food TEF, but there are 3 others, one specializing in in smart cities, one in manufacturing, and one in health, in addition to agriculture. And all of them have a catalog of services that you can see. And this is more for AI developers and AI systems building companies. But nevertheless, all these services are also available and also can be reached out, including through the EDI. If you don't know how to reach out to a TEF, or you don't understand the service, you can try through your local European Digital Innovation Hub. And since you asked to be short, I will stop here.
Thanks, Margosata. Now I would like to leave the floor to Josephine. So please, Josephine, if you would like to introduce yourself and briefly give us, the context of the kind of beneficiaries through the Euro HPC you are supporting in the unit.
So firstly, just to say that we're not part of the Commission. We're a joint undertaking, which is separate from the Commission. It's like a small agency made up of public-private partnership, made up of member states, countries, industry, and of course, EU, the Commission and EU funded from that. And the funding comes 50-50 from both sides. So it's quite important because we're already a project in ourselves. And so we have two types of we are a beneficiary indirectly, but we also then launch calls for different projects in DEP, because we also deal with Horizon projects and Connected Europe Facility projects. So in DEP specifically, we have two types of projects, which is one of the procurements. So this is where we procure supercomputers, we build them, and then we make them accessible to our users. And then the second type of DEP projects, which is more similar to the ones you've heard already this morning, which are competence and skills. So we have also got a competence network across Europe with 35 countries that all have competence offices, if I can call them that seek to help support scientists, SMEs, users, etc., to get onto supercomputing. We also have developed a menu, I would call it, of different skills activities around supercomputing to get more people into supercomputing, from postgraduate education with our master's call, professional training with our traineeship calls, and then, of course, specialist calls to help support, again, users who want to use our supercomputers, get access to them and be able to develop adapt and shape the data to use the supercomputers. So procurement's on one side, and then everything to do around competence and skills to get people onto our supercomputers. And I'll talk more in detail about how we do it later.
Okay, thanks, Josephine. Now I would like to give the floor to Yves. So just briefly present. Thanks.
Let me quickly share one or two slides. Can I? Okay. One moment. There we are. Okay, you should now be able to see my slide, right? This is just to very briefly show you that we started only end of 2022, and we were coming from an existing joint undertaking and got involved in the DEP program to a capacity building extra program. And the capacity building is about pilot lines, design platform, competence centers, quantums, and skills. And I mentioned that because you will hear that in what I'm going to say. The pilot lines were really selected at the beginning of 2024 to now, so they barely have started, and are mostly about, at least for what concerns the DEP, mostly about procurement. The competence centers are DEP funded and mixed DEP funded and national funded, and I think that your project will be much needed. The design platform is under evaluation. Can't say a lot about that, but it's also DEP funded. And then we have quantum chips technology, which is Horizon Europe, and skills that basically is intrinsic at this moment to the other actions, but also through Horizon Europe. So if I can say the following, we have, a set of interconnected actions. That's important to keep in mind. Interconnected actions, pilot line, design platform, competence centers that use mixed grants and procurement for the design platform and the pilot line, for example, that are also mixing Horizon Europe and DEP budget. And that are mixing EU funding and national funding. And why do I say that? Because when we talk about dissemination and exploitation, we need, of course, to take into account this variety of tools and budgets that we're using. Okay, and that makes our work probably a bit more difficult. Now, this being said, regarding the pilot lines, there we're talking with very experienced RTOs. The largest European RTOs are involved here. And we're not too concerned about what they're going to do in terms of dissemination and exploitation. They know what they're doing. They have that. The same for the design platform. But as I said, for the competence centers, there I might see more problems, and I'll explain that maybe a little later. Now, one last thing. All this is being set up mainly for the nanoelectronics community, the SMEs, the startups, the academic sector, and also the launch companies. So the main goal of all that is to provide advanced tools to this community, and that's what we're trying to achieve here, and with this capacity building. And I'll stop here.
Okay, thanks, Yves. Very, very interesting to have listened to, I would say, 3 different kind of initiatives that you are supporting in terms of different potential beneficiaries, different spectrum also of kind of readiness in terms of technologies, in terms of different beneficiaries you are involving with, and especially also I would say that there could be also different kind of technology readiness level behind. You have also a lot of activities with the increasing the skills and increasing about the education. So I would say that in terms of exploitation and dissemination activities, you need to deal and you are dealing through your beneficiaries with a lot of potential different challenges that you have collected through your experience. So the first kind of question, the main now that I would like to focus on, it's about these challenges that basically through the kind of beneficiaries you are collaborating with, you have collected. So I would like kindly to ask you to share with us which could be the main challenges. Of course, if you can maybe categorize the challenges depending on the different kind of beneficiaries you are supporting, and especially if you have a sort of also practical KPIs that from your perspective you are following internally to understand from the from the public body perspective if those beneficiaries are going in the right direction to really exploit and disseminating the results to achieve the so eager impact that must be reached with deploying public money. So I would like to ask this kind of question, and always starting in the same order with Marco Zata, please.
Thank you. So we are a little bit special in the sense that our projects deliver services to the companies. So their job is not to invent or deploy some new tools. It's really to deliver the services. And some of these services will be very innovative, but some of the services will not. These will be off-the-shelf products that will simply improve the life of the small company, but not necessarily be particularly innovative in the general terms. So our main clients are the SMEs on the ground, and the hubs and the TEFs, they have the resources, they are locally based, including the TEFs with their nodes. So they are locally based and can reach the local community of the companies in their local language and provide the services that the company need. from our perspective here in Brussels, it is indeed difficult to reach the companies, because if I'm talking about a local construction company or a local baker, very likely they will not even be speaking English, and that is the main language of communication that we are using. However, the EDIs in particular, they are all locally based and they can reach those companies. And for us, the monitoring also doesn't happen in terms of the number of events or trainings or something like that that has been put in place, but rather in terms of the services that have been delivered. And the EDIs, they have a very, very ambitious target ahead of them. By 2027, they are supposed to support 100,000 European SMEs and mid-caps. And we are well on track to actually reach this target. So I think they are doing a good job in terms of how they promoting their services. But from our perspective, it is important to push that even more, so that companies are aware that this type of service is available to them and they can reach out to the EDI and get the support that they need.
Okay, thanks, Mazzurata. Now I would like to give the floor to Josephine, please.
So building a little bit on what Gosha said, the National Competence Centres for HPC are very similar. We have 35 of them. They provide services to researchers, academics, small and medium enterprises, industry sometimes, to try out basically our supercomputers. So it's quite difficult to measure the input, but it's definitely more interesting to measure the output, which is why we then move on to the users, and we call them users rather than the users. Now, we're very lucky in supercomputing that half our role, our activity, most of our work is actually procuring supercomputers and quantum computers, and soon we will be procuring AI factories and developing AI factories. So when the auditors come to see us and say, can you give us a KPI? We can say, yes, we have now got 9 operational exascale and pre-exascale supercomputers operational in Europe, which are available and accessible to European users who are resident in the European Union and beyond, because it's also our participating states in the 35 countries. We are actually also very lucky because there's actually a ranking. So this is another nice tool that you might want to think about, which is there's something called the top 500. And our KPI is to make sure that we have at least that our supercomputers that we've invested in, and we're talking millions here, appear in the global top 500, so the top 10 of the top 500. That's important because just linking into what Yves just said about strategic autonomy, our job is also to make sure that we're building capacity and capabilities for Europe, and therefore being and developing our strategic autonomy in supercomputing. So coming back to the ranking list, that's a very nice KPI. We just need to make sure we're in the top 10. We also have another KPI, which is linked to the digital decade, which is the number of quantum computers we need to have operational in Europe by 2030. And then it goes into more sort of very more tangible question, which is, okay, so we have this fantastic infrastructure. It's a huge investment for Europe. Who is using them and what for? Just very simple. And there we have different calls for different types of users who want to basically try different types of activities on our supercomputers, from development calls where they want to test out the system, right through to they've got a set of data and they want to use our data to take to exascale speeds. Now, a little pithy joke just to give you an example of where we have a problem with dissemination. Can you guess which project was mentioned before in the first panel uses our supercomputers? And did she mention the fact that she was using our supercomputers? Can you guess which one? No. So I'll give you the answer. And this is actually one of the issues about our dissemination. It's not just about your own project, and this is just a little tip, and what you're doing with it, but it's also how you're working with other European projects and how you're taking advantage of other European projects to achieve the objectives of your own project. So the answer is Destination Earth. Destination Earth is one of our key customers on our supercomputers and has quite a big chunk of time on our supercomputers. And it's not a criticism to Destination Earth, but sometimes people forget that projects happen, not, you you need to work together. So my last point on this, what I'm really trying to do, and by the way, I sort of look after the communications team, and you talked about resources earlier in the joint undertaking, and there are 4 very young, well, not young, but dynamic people communicating about our activities and helping our projects communicate better. And they are, what we're looking for is to actually talk about the projects that get used on our supercomputers. So Destination Earth is one great example, and it's a fantastic project, but it's also going into the detail of what are we doing on nuclear fusion, what are we doing on plasma, what are we doing on health, what are we doing on vaccines, because there are all sorts of projects in all sorts of different areas where actually there's serious science going on, and they're using our supercomputers to confirm, test, visualize their projects, and then we publish. So if you'd like to look at some of the examples, you can look at our website. I'll also talk about our beneficiaries in the next round and what they're doing. Okay.
Thanks, Josephine. Very interesting what you said. So basically, it's quite, I would say, hard for you also maybe because you have different, as you said, kind of potential areas of impact around using this supercomputing. So I would say that your kind of spectrum for reaching impact through the different areas could be very, I would say, scalable and impactful. So thanks for sharing these insights. Then please, Yves.
Well, I totally agree with what Margareta and Jo said, of course, and we're facing a bit the same. I also liked very much what Johan said about SMEs, how busy they are, and they don't have a lot of time. I think one of the hurdles regarding, let's say the dissemination activities and is basically the exploitation and dissemination activities is basically that all our projects are supposed to address the SMEs, but the SMEs don't necessarily have that time and have also time just to browse to all the possibilities that they are offered. I sometimes, would like to see maybe a unique EU portal, and that goes back to a bit to what Jo said, a unique EU portal where you said, you have a question about AI, talk to Margareta. You have a question about, supercomputers, talk to you have etc. Something that lowers the barrier to get into all these competence centers and hubs and whatever you have. Because I really talking to SMEs, and we have a lot of experience in SMEs through the Horizon Europe program, though. But talking to SMEs, that is really a problem that they find before they find their way through the different instruments. That is one of the issues we have. In our competence centers, the chambers of commerce and things like that are involved. And so we hope that our competence centers will be able to spread the good news about, the services that we're going to offer. But let's see how that works out. And as I said, I think the competence centers could certainly use help of a project like the DEDP. And finally, regarding KPIs, as I said, we're completely at the beginning of all the actions. Obviously, the larger project like the pilot lines and the design platform have KPIs on the services that they're going to implement and the way they're going to approach SMEs and things like that. But they're very specific to this environment. But then on the side of the competence centers there, I think, more, I would say, DEP generic types of KPIs might be useful. Sure, most of the competence centers have a set of KPIs ready-made, but, there maybe streamlining a bit would help. And basically, this is about, as was mentioned, I think, by Margareta, it's essentially about, how much SMEs are accessing your service. That I think is, at least for me, the most important KPI that you have. And by the way, I think we also have that in our council regulation. We have to keep track of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Yves. I would say very, very interesting. This kind of, as you said also by the others about, the service, the beneficiaries that are receiving the SMEs, these kind of services that, the more the better, of course. Maybe it will also worth to understand, how many of these kind of beneficiaries that benefited from your services, maybe take these kind of skills, increasing skills, and, create other impact, indirect impact towards the specific areas they're working on. Because I would say that you're giving them, new skills, new tools, but at the end of the story, also when they are implementing the new knowledge that basically they have acquired through your services, of course, they will generate another indirect impact. Maybe all this kind of potential dashboard can also be useful for tracking down the let's say the impact they can reach vertical in the specific sector.
Can I just say,
yeah,
sorry,
please.
Lorenzo, can I just say, add one more thing? And I think that is important, and I think Joe hinted at that also. That is that, an SME that is interested in what we're doing probably is also interested in what Margaretha is doing, or even what Joe is doing, okay? And so I think we don't exploit that sufficiently. That is that, we have like 600 SMEs working in our Horizon Europe program, geared towards high tech. Basically, we don't have a lot of high tech, and we need, those high tech probably would like to use several of these. And then you have all the other SMEs, which are more specific to one or the other, of course.
Okay, thanks. Now I would like to launch the second round of table with, I'd say, a focus on basically in your perspectives, again, your experience towards your specific beneficiaries. If you think that which could be other services, so new services that can be provided to them in order for better exploiting, let's say, the results through the services you're delivering, to the kind of access of the supercomputing, in order for them to better exploit and generate an impact in that specific sector. So I don't know, we said before a lot of times that there could be different exploitation synergies around the different programs, or there could be one platform or one, I don't know, website where everything is centralized, and then, beneficiaries can go there and understand better how to things and that. So other kind of inputs from your side, suggestions, in order, for your beneficiaries to easily or hopefully taking the specific new knowledge results that are achieving through your services to deploy in let's say, in that specific vertical to achieve an impact. So if you have suggestions that you would like to add on the table, on top of what you said already. I would always start with the same order, so Margaretha, please.
Well, I am not a believer in a single website that has it all. I think there have been a number of attempts of achieving this impossible goal, and they basically all failed. So I would not go that way. At the same time, I fully subscribe to what Joe said and Eve, and I guess many people in the audience thought the same. We do need to look for more synergies and linking the results of our projects. And in that context, I'm offering you here today the network of the European Digital Innovation Hubs as a dissemination vehicle, because they are the people on the ground who know their clients, who have the links to the SMEs and larger companies and advanced companies and low-tech companies, and can sell, in inverted commas, your solutions or your projects, inform the company that there is an opportunity with the pilot line, with the HPC, with whatever else, something on cyber, and they are willing to do so. They are doing that already. In the future call, we will even have a specific KPI on the, let's say, on the referrals. But attention, they are very choosy. They don't take anything. So if your project is only, lots of hot air and big words, then they will just ignore it. We already had a few times when we were presenting to them something that we thought was great, and it was not picked up because the answer was, sorry, Gosia, we like you, we like the project, but our clients are not interested. So, really, but nevertheless, they are out there and they are more than willing to hear about what you have and promote it further in their communities. And it can then be done very simply through contacting us. We put you in contact with the network. You can do a presentation, share your materials, or if this is something more complex that would require more explanations and maybe closer cooperation with the hub, so that, for example, they don't pass to Joe, you know, a tiny SME who thinks they need HPC, but really understand what that SME would need to have to be able to benefit from that service. Then we can set up even a small thematic working group where those interested hubs, together with the representatives of the other initiatives, work on the how to make this collaboration happen in an efficient way, and so that everybody can benefit from this.
Thanks, Margosala. Very, very interesting what you said. So now I would like to take over to Josephine.
So yeah, I completely agree with Gosha. It's also about trying to assess when you're launching the call, what specific element of the call is going to make a difference. So, and also, I mean, and I think, sorry, what you said about the community itself, there aren't that many organizations out there that do tech, okay? And if they do tech, they all know each other already, all right? So our beneficiaries, particularly if you go into what I wouldn't call it niche anymore, but it is HPC is quite a niche area. Everybody knows everybody already. So that's interesting, but that's not what we're about. We're about growing the competencies and growing the knowledge and growing the expertise across different new areas. So I'll give you the example of my master's program, which we're really proud about because it's the first pan-European master's program over 2 years where students can go, master's students can get an in-depth understanding of all aspects of HPC. And we're doing this to try and grow the community so that there's a next generation of HPC experts, so they don't die out literally, but two, that they actually also grow the knowledge out there. But how do you disseminate? How do you inform the next generation of IT students that there's a master's waiting for them to join when they finish their first degree? And that's one of our biggest issues. We have some countries where the dissemination is fantastic simply because there's a champion, probably a person, an IT champion, who is using his or her networks and going, you've just finished your degree in engineering, come and do HPC with us, or you've just finished your degree in IT. But it's people at the end of the day that are making the difference. And that's, I think, our biggest obstacle. If I were in IT and I was 25, life is good in Europe. We've got all these different projects which you've just heard about, and all these different funding streams to get to use the different tools. The question is, how do we get these people into that? And that's, I think, our big challenge and our obstacle. And yeah, all tools are good. Social media seems to be the way forward. My younger colleagues are desperate for us to go onto Insta. I'm a little bit like your single website. Insta is not my friend, but maybe it is for the next generation. But yeah, we need to get people to and I think this is the purpose of DEP, to say, look, DEP is here, DEP is supporting you. There's a lot of resources out there available to you. Please come and take advantage. It's good for you and it will be good for Europe.
Thanks, Josephine. I think it's clear what you said. So again, the inputs that so we collected in this panel around the trying to leverage the synergies between the different programs. I would say it's something that's relevant to take into consideration because
and to grow the beneficiaries. That's really important. That's what we need to be doing more.
Yeah,
and focusing on that.
So now I would like to take over to Yves, please.
Yes, I agree again with both you and Margaretha. Indeed, I already mentioned the hurdle for SMEs to get to know what we're doing. I think is important. The website might not be the ideal way to do that. I totally agree. Sometimes I'm rather thinking maybe of an ombudsman or somebody but whatever. But there is I think that hurdle, and those that know don't have that hurdle, but those that do not know have that hurdle. And as Jo said, we need to grow and we need to address other people, but also we need to address startups. And startups, are even more extreme than SMEs in terms of use of time and use of money and things like that. And I do believe that regarding startups, they need maybe to have a bit more, or they should deserve a bit more attention from us to help them in understanding how to do that. I have already been several times in terms of startups, and most of the time the answer that I get is, listen, if you can't help me tomorrow, then I don't need your help in a month or so. So there is a sense of urgency there with them that is sometimes a bit lacking maybe with SMEs that are a bit more relaxed in their environment, and maybe there is something to be thought about how we can, lower the barriers for startups to make sure that they profit from everything that we're building here. And it's very impressive what we're building here, very valuable also for startups.
Thanks, Ib. Yeah, the last point about startups, I think you said pretty relevant. If they can be potential users within the kind of tools or knowledge that have been provided through these networks, and of course, depending on the kind of the difference between SMEs or startups, it's quite, you would say, concrete. And then maybe also looking at different kind of profiles, you need maybe to adapt a bit how to present the kind of tool, or let's say the service that you can provide to them, adapt a little bit for making them more using concretely. But again, just for always reach the impact that around the network that you are generating. So thanks a lot, very helpful. Again, thanks to all the panelists, so Marguzada, Josephine, and Eva, for the insights and for sharing your experience within your specific context. So now I think I would hand over to Nika. Nika, are you still there? Yes, I hope.
I'm still here, yes. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of the panelists. That was really, really interesting and very important to understand, the different landscapes and the different needs and the different messages as well. So thank you very much to everyone. And thank you, Lorenzo, for chairing that. So what we'll do now is we move towards the end of the webinar. We've got one last question that we'd like you to ask, and I can see that some people have already started answering. So we want to know from the participants. We said that DEDEP is looking to design a framework and pilot support services on dissemination and exploitation. What do you think? We want to know what you think. What type of additional support and guidance could be most valuable to help digital projects achieve greater market impact? So if you go to the link on the Slido, which is also in the chat, you can start to vote here. And I'd like to also at the same time invite the next two panelists to join us. So these two people, Silvana Muscella and Francesca Natali from Silvana from Trust IT and Francesca from Meta Group. So they have vast experience in working every day with individuals and also companies and organizations on how they can deliver effective dissemination and exploitation strategies. So I'd like you both to turn on your cameras. Oh, there you are. I can see you now. So what we'll do, we have a number of comments coming in. So this question is free and open. If you've got some recommendations or some suggestions, or even comments you have around the challenges you're facing, then we'd love to gather them and collect them, because of course this will influence the types of activities that we'll be proposing. So a good one there is mapping like-minded projects. So I know who I can talk about before my project begins. This is very important in understanding the landscape, and also in terms of something that Gozia mentioned in terms of a target group being the digital innovation hubs. You know, what an effective way to reach regional communities across Europe. And we heard from Johan and his experience in Sweden and how he's been very effective in reaching out to SMEs. A recent websites I can see there: standardizing, dissemination, exploitation, not starting from zero. And yeah, another comment about standards as well. I saw that was obviously very important, contributing to standards and getting market impact. I don't know, Silvana or Francesco, if there's anything coming out here that you want to, that catches your eye or you want to comment on.
Thanks, Nick, and thanks everyone. It's been an amazing webinar. It really has. We've just gathered so much information from here. I was so enthralled at listening to every single one of you, and even in the chat as well, that we're going to obviously gather and we're going to contact everyone after. The like-minded projects is absolutely spot on. You have this as part of your proposal writing, that you go back to and say, okay, who did we write as part of our target groups? And then you tend to forget about them. But if this mapping is already done in advance and we know exactly who to talk to, I think that's key. I don't know, Francesca, if you want to add anything to that, to any other point.
Well, no, Silvana, I think that it has been a very fruitful session, and there are lots of ideas and insights for be better exploited. I mean, during the lifetime of our project. I believe that there is lots of room and space for working on better, let's say, a scheme and services that could help different type of project to prepare and implement more effective exploitation strategy that could take their incredible and brilliant solution into the market. Because I mean, I believe that it is the main aim that we all are targeting. We are used to repeat, no use, no impact. So we need, I mean, to really work on that.
Thanks, Francesco. And actually, I wanted to just say one of the comments was creating sharing guidelines on communication, marketing, exploitation strategy, best practices. Perhaps projects could share their best practices about these dissemination exploitation strategies. So this is exactly what DEDEP is trying to capture. We're trying to capture a collection of best practices to see how projects are addressing these issues, and also the challenges that are faced. So this is really what the project over the next 24 months is looking to do. Understand the landscape, understand what's happening, and provide support services based on this experience and the needs of the Commission and the implementing bodies, and to speak to both sides, basically, so that we provide recommendations to both. So we've asked Silvana and Francesca. They've been busy beavering away on 2 slides. So I'd like basically focusing firstly on dissemination. So these are observations from the webinar and some takeaways. And then secondly, Francesca, on exploitation. So Silvana, you've got about 3.5 minutes to cover your slide, okay? And some of the takeaways.
Super. So yeah, again, thanks again, Nick, and everyone for all this really important input. We just put at the top again, going back to what Elizabeth introduced at the beginning, what is DEP, yeah? And so if we remember, if you're working on a DEP project, it's to promote the digital transformation in Europe, help businesses compete globally. That's a key word, and ensure that uptake is really carried out of digital technologies. So that always has to be extremely in the front of our thoughts when we're working on this. So a couple of, we haven't obviously collected everything, but here are a few items that we want to have you take away with whilst you have your lunch. make your activity inclusive and sustainable, capitalize on the business networks that you know about, scale up, obviously, around your social media, those that work, obtain referrals from other experts, hyperscalable services, digital-based, useful for the design and keeping relation-based approach, but obviously on an EU level. And the industry alignment is key. Some challenges that came out, and we heard from Joe before mentioning how are we going to get the next generation of our digital experts today to know what's out there and making informed decisions. And this is something that we're working on various projects, even from at a primary school level, especially on topics concerning HPC or semiconductors or chips. Effective strategies and tools that need to be put in place. The change behavior, we heard from Thorsten. Time constraints that especially SMEs have in digesting material. We need to work around that. Eve mentioned that. Goha, with your unclear jargon that we're always used to having to go through, and sometimes the English is difficult. So two different levels of miscommunication. And then how do we then get to create communities? And we heard a few things from Frank earlier on, but to address the message to scientists, but also to create valuable content that is suitable and is digestible for SMEs as well as policymakers to help understand. Know your playmates and find your champions. Who do I know that I should be speaking to and working with? And the whole empathy is important here because it's the people who make a difference that we heard. There are user exchanges to help engage communities. So know your multipliers as well. Communities of practice that takes place on specific targeted topics. We heard it like in the one for agriculture. Promote to the digital innovation hubs who do reach local networks of SMEs. Disseminate reuse of other EC resources we heard earlier. Motivate and empower, and then understand your user needs using referrals from other experts is an important hook for SMEs. And finally, LinkedIn is effective as a relational-based, hyperscalable networking tool. I use it a lot, working in your regional, local environment. And I'm going to leave us with the lovely quote that Thorsten gave us, which was keep your feet on the ground, but a foot in the sky. So I'll now turn over to Francesca for the exploitation part. Thank you, Francesca.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Silvana. Well, I would like, to conclude such an interesting session with a recommendation more than observation. What I've learned from the field in order to support a project, also digital project, and I think that we may think to design tailored mentorship program that could help some type of project to scale. I think that scale up, it is a crucial phase and a crucial, let's say, action that we should be capable to implement. And so I'm thinking about mentorship, matching schemes that could help digital companies in scaling. These mentors that could include business angels, industry experts, and also successful entrepreneurs could guide those digital companies, this digital project in the international market. I think that is gonna be key because these projects need also to be further supported in order to achieve larger round of investment if they want to be successful in the international market. So I think that mentorship from experienced business angels, as I said, experienced entrepreneurs, can be really, something important, and that could really provide an added value in supporting this project in scale and entering international market. And I believe that the Commission could facilitate cross-border networking. We have listened that these projects have difficulties in engaging with local stakeholders and end users. So I believe that there is space in supporting a project in doing that through experienced mentors that could help entrepreneurs in understanding better legal, cultural, and marketing differences in order, to become international.
Francesca Silva, thank you very much. And with that, I'd also like to thank all of our speakers and all of our panelists. It's been a really interesting, fascinating webinar. We've heard from lots of different stakeholders within the Digital Europe programme. We've heard lots of different best practices and recommendations. And also we've heard from the European Commission and the implementing bodies, the joint undertakings, on their expectations and their recommendations on this topic. As I said, we've had 90 projects registered, and we've had 160 people registered. I saw participation up around 130, which is just fantastic. And everybody's, contributed to the polls. So the polls are really important because they help us to understand needs, challenges, and also what's going on, what people require support on. So I'd like to thank everybody who's contributed and everybody who's followed. And the comments are fantastic. The comments in the chat are really rich, and I can see people exchanging messages. So this is great for networking. I'd like to, there's been so many positive things and positive things said, but I'd like to leave it with something that Joe said, which was the Digital Europe programme is here, it's supporting you, and here are the services, so come and use them. And I think this is an important message that we can take away from today's webinar. We'll be planning another webinar shortly in the new year, and stay tuned for more from the DEDEP project and the reports that we publish, and stay in touch if you're interested in joining and becoming one of our pilots. So thanks again, everybody, and have a lovely lunch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.